grounded. He will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Dowd.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Count with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
And a good Garrison Financial Friday out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports right here on 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. Hopefully we see that door open here just a little bit, but I don't know if Scott's coming or not.
It's too cold.
It's maybe too cold, too windy. Golly. It's going to be cold in the morning out at the ECGCC for the baseball boosters golf tournament.
That is tomorrow.
It's been awesome weekends, and now not this one. Yeah, it's going to be rough. 50 and rainy.
Yikes.
The saving grace is, Jared, the wind isn't supposed to be blowing hardly at all.
So I have planned for Saturday night a little watch party in the big barn with an inflatable screen and projector for Game 2. And I'm wondering how cool it's going to be in there. It has a heater, but it's really loud.
I think if the wind's not blowing. But here's the problem, though. Sometimes Saturday evening into depending on the timing of where we're at, that's when it's really going to get cold. Because there's another front coming.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, this is just like the appetizer.
Sunday, you don't want to go outside.
Yeah, it's going to be cold Sunday. It's going to be cold. But we are here. As I mentioned, it's Garrison Financial Friday on the Skinny on Sports. We'll talk college football at the end of the show. Is this OU's toughest game left? Oklahoma State looking to avoid a look ahead to what I'm sure OSU fans feel like is the toughest game left on OU schedule next week. Can the Cowboys' newfound run game pierce the defensive front of Cincinnati? Cincinnati's not very good, but their defensive line is. Mm-hmm. OU run the ball. I mean, is that over? Is the defense vulnerable? We're hearing a little bit of that after what we saw a little bit last week. Elsewhere around the Big 12, I think a lot of eyes are going to be fixed on Austin, Texas, to see what Malik Murphy can do in Quinn Ewers' absence. And also, of course, there's that 1 million pound gorilla standing on the sideline wearing number 10 named Arch Manning, and how that could affect things. Around the country, Utah, Oregon. I'm interested to see what happens in that game.
Man, every week Pac-12's giving us a great game.
And it's going to listen, and it ain't ever going to stop. It's going to happen all the way through the end of the season. This one, obviously, Utah could push USC around up front, way more physical. I don't know if they can do that to the Ducks. The Ducks are a little bit different animal than USC. That's exciting. High school football tonight. What are the playoff implications for the games around here? What are the big games around the state that have playoff implications for the teams around here? Let's talk about the high school football coming up on Friday night, Week 9, next to last, the penultimate, as they say, regular season week of the high school football season. I've got some numbers. I was going to quiz you guys. Did you listen yesterday?
I was hunched over with stomach pain
yesterday, so
I'm sorry I did
not.
At
the first of the week, I had asked, how long has it been? Or I guess maybe it was Wednesday. How long has it been since we've had a World Series kind of this surprising?
Oh, right. Yeah.
I found the answer.
Like with one?
No, with both.
I know that. One World Series, though.
Yes,
like
yes.
Yeah, it was hard. It was easy to find one team, but not two teams at the same time. Yes.
So both of these teams, I went back, and actually ESPN Stats showed me this. I'm not going to lie, where I found it. That's where I found it. But both of these teams were 50-1 or worse to win the World Series preseason. The Rangers were 50-1. The Diamondbacks were 125-1. When do you think the last World Series was where both teams were 50-1 or worse to win? Our listeners know the answer because I told them on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
But I'm asking you.
Yesterday or Wednesday?
Wednesday. Because wasn't the last the Rangers won on Monday, the Diamondbacks won on Tuesday. Yeah. Oh, it must have been yesterday then. No, yeah. Because I asked you.
You didn't tell me.
I asked you Wednesday. I found it yesterday. That's right.
Gotcha.
This is Friday. So, yeah. The listeners know what the answer is. We'll see if you can think of it.
Okay.
And then I'll tell you the answer in the last segment. If you don't know by the middle segment, at the end of the middle segment, I'll give you the same hint I gave the listeners, and that hint allowed one of them to get it.
Okay.
So
I have
okay, what's your guess?
Guess, but
what is it?
You want it right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
97.
Nope. That's
I
not
remember
it.
that Florida Marlins team or whatever. Yeah, they're Florida Marlins back then against Cleveland.
That's right.
And that was
yeah, but Clee had been in the World Series in 95, in the playoffs in 96.
They came in and I'm looking at it, I'm not remembering this, as an 86-win team. You kind of think, well, what were their projections before the season? You're only winning 86 games. Did they let everybody down, or were they get on a heater? And then, of course, the Marlins winning it in 7 on the bottom of the 9th, didn't they?
I actually think that might have went to extra innings.
I think you might be right.
If not
11
bottom,
innings.
I was
11
say,
innings.
I think
I'm
that was
sorry.
an extra inning
I'm sorry.
game.
It was 11 innings. But point is, I remember thinking, man, this Florida team that was just created like 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and here they are.
I bet you they might have been. They were good though, golly. Do you remember who
They got good. Yeah, they went. But I think. Well, but the question is, at the start
Right.
of the season, what were their chances? I'm not seeing it. I don't know where to find that. But that was my only guess. So I kept finding other teams, but I couldn't find their mate, their opponent, that also had those long odds.
Do you remember who got the a World Series winning hit for the Marlins?
In that 97 one?
Uh-huh.
No. Again, I remember watching. I remember staying up late and watching it.
There's a bonus question. Since the listeners already know the answer to the first question, who was the player that got the World Series winning hit for the Marlins in the bottom of the 11th? It was their shortstop, I can tell you that. I mean, just to let everybody know, I do know the answer. I do remember exactly who it was, beyond the shadow of any doubt, I think. It's one of those that we're going to have to trust my memory as the guide to having the answer, but I'm pretty sure I do know the answer to this one. All right, so World Series. Question for Scott and you was going to be, what do you think the economic impact is to the city for a World Series game? So the city of Arlington, city of Phoenix, or wherever it's actually located, it may be Glendale or whatever. I think it's actually downtown, so it's going to go Phoenix. But what is the estimated economic impact of one World Series game to the city?
I could have told you what the economic impact to my wallet would have been. I looked into it. Holy moly.
I know somebody that's going.
They got room for one more?
Don't think so. But less than what you had described.
They are in Phoenix, by the way.
Yeah, I thought so. Like 600.
Oh, you're going less for that? Or going right
600
for that amount?
Yeah.
Tonight?
Tomorrow, I think.
Tomorrow? See, I saw tickets for tonight around that range.
Okay.
Because I think it's a Friday thing. Saturday, more people are able to get away and go. I don't know. Saturday, I don't know. It's World Series. They're going to be expensive.
Yeah.
I looked. We looked. We 100% considered it.
So what do you think?
The economic impact?
Per game to the city.
Oh, man, I'm horrible with this. It's going to be good. I mean, you're talking about hotel rooms, obviously ticket sales, merch, food, I mean, gas. You're talking about all of it. The impact is enormous, especially for a major metropolitan area like the DFW, like Phoenix, Glendale. I don't know, man. I'm horrible with this. Is it in the B's?
No.
Not that much.
No.
How about per game?
Per game.
I'm going to embarrass myself. 50 million?
Not that much. That's how much it could be for the whole series if you get 4 of them.
Oh, really?
12 to 14 million. Here's why I think it's less than what you think. Because it's at somebody's home. Whereas, like the Super Bowl,
sure,
you got everybody
you got
has to
fan
travel.
bases
Exactly.
coming in.
Whereas here, you've got most people are at home. Now they'll go out and eat or whatever.
Right.
But what does the park hold? 50, 45, 40,000 people? Well, how many of those are going to be coming from Arizona? $2,000. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's not a ton. I think that's why those numbers. I was kind of surprised because I was thinking it's going to be higher as well. But because of the nature of it, you don't get as many travelers as you would for a lot of the other things that we think about in this regard. Now, for the entire series, and this was off of last year. What do you think that financial boon was for the winning team, which was Houston last year, and the losing team, which was Philly last year? Just the organization.
How much did it help up the organization?
How much money basically what they made off of the World Series for winning and what they made off the World Series for losing.
Again, I'm horrible with this.
This one shocked me.
It's more than you think?
More than I would have thought.
Because, again, ticket sales, merchandise sales.
I guess that's the thing you got to think of, yeah.
And, I mean, you're getting extra games to sell hot dogs.
Well, you know, we've always heard that for every NBA playoff game, like the Thunder in like first round, and it kind of stair-stepped up depending on how far they got in the playoffs. We always heard it was like $1 million to $1.5 million per game. Gravy train that like cleared money for every game, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you obviously if you had 7-game series and were the home team every time, you'd have 4 of those at let's say $1.5 million. That's $8 million. No, that's $6 million. And then you'd go another step up, say to 2, whatever it was. I mean, you could end up getting it to a certain level. This is similar to that, but it's just one series, just the World Series.
Okay.
$35 million is what the Astros made off of the World Series last year.
It's a lot of trash cans. Man.
$35 million. $24 million guaranteed as the loser for Philly. That's an amazing amount of money.
Did you say this? Is this a payout from the league, or is this?
It's just it's just
the
said
financial,
what it. Yes.
Financial impact. Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't know if the league gave out a
I'm sure there's
stipend for winning. I'm sure clubs do. Like, hey, you get this is your bonus for winning the World Series.
And there might be a little bit of that mixed in from the MLB. Who knows? So tonight, the Aces. This has worked out pretty well pitching wise for both sides. Their aces are going. True. Gallen for Arizona. Nathan Eovaldi for the Texas Rangers. Eovaldi is 4-0 this postseason. If he gets the win tonight, he does something that nobody has ever done in the history of baseball, and that is win your first 5 postseason starts. That's incredible. When you do something, I say this every time when we talk about especially baseball, it can be good or it can be bad, either one. But when you do something that nobody else has ever done, that's an amazing accomplishment, even if it's something that's bad. You know what I mean? Even if it's striking out 10 straight times or whatever. But that's crazy. To think that nobody's ever, with all the dominant pitching that we've seen throughout the years, nobody's ever been able to win the first 5. And now, heck, somebody might have thrown a gem. That's the thing about baseball. You're in position to win, and then the bullpen blows it, and you don't get the win, and even though you pitch great,
right?
But that hadn't happened yet to him. That's pretty crazy.
He's been fantastic, but I could break it down and go into it over and over again, but it's credit the bats. I mean, because he's keeping the other teams at bay, and the bats are, it's a team sport too. But he's a big part of it. I mean, obviously, you can't have good pitching and not go this far. I mean, you have to have good pitching. Great starters, so makes me nervous though because you feel like something's got to give.
Yeah, who's the best player in the series?
Seager.
That's what so there was a list Kylie McDaniel made of all 52 players and ranked them, and Corey Seager was the best according to him.
Now my wife would yell, "No, it's Garcia," because she loves the guy. He was the best best player last series, but. Overall, because of Seager and his experience, and he's been here, and I think he's going to have a great series. I really do. I'll say him. Yeah, and that was without looking at this list. I would have said this before that list.
Yeah, Seager's 1. Corbin Carroll is 2.
Agreed.
Their WARs are amazingly close. But He's fantastic. He's going to be the rookie of the year, probably a top 5 MVP voting as a rookie in the National League. Corbin Carroll. Then you get to Garcia, and then you get to Ketel Marte. Golly, what is that stat? Marte, he's got. Is he the one that's never not had a hit in a playoff game? It seems like when he doubled down the line, that popped up there. So he's got to be. He was the NLCS MVP. And then Scott Semien. And then, surprisingly enough, the only pitcher in the top 6, which is quote-unquote elite players on this list, is Zach Gallen.
I mean, okay.
But
I look at the 2-2 record in the postseason.
But that's the whole thing.
This is all year,
all encompassing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. This isn't just kind of ranking how they've done in the postseason. This is the entirety of the year, postseason included into it. Is how this gets to this list. So that's an even 3-3. 3 Rangers, 3 Diamondbacks. Here's where the separation starts. Is where you go down to very good players. The next 4 are all Rangers.
And that'd be
Josh Young, Evan Carter, Evaldi, and Jonah Heim. So out of the top 10 players in this series, according to Kylie McDaniel, 7 of the 10 are Texas Rangers. And I think that's when you go through the lineups, I think 1 through 9, the Rangers lineup scares you way more than Arizona's does. Whoever the pitcher might be, you know what I'm saying? If you were choosing to pitch to one of these two teams, you 1,000,000% would rather pitch to Arizona than Texas because of the depth of lineup all the way through. I mean, we saw Tavares even hit a home run in the playoffs at the 9 spot. You know what I mean?
Right.
They just it seems like every guy that comes up, you're thinking, dang, that guy can hit all the way through the Rangers lineup. I think that's the difference. I do think that there's probably a depth of pitching similar. Obviously, the bullpen edge goes to Arizona. Starting edge maybe to Texas. I don't know. Merrill Kelly, that Fott guy, he was good. That rookie that fought for Arizona in Game 7, he was good. But this just feels like it's the Rangers' time to win their first World Series.
Well, according to Vegas, they got them like a 63.5% chance of winning it. Vegas says Rangers in 5. I'm not going that far. That caught my eye yesterday. That's what I did yesterday in bed was I would Google World Series picks, and I kind of keep a tally in my mind. Okay, they think this, they think this. And the majority I see is leaning towards Rangers. There's an argument for Diamondbacks, but I don't want to be that pompous and say, well, it's their time. You know, I don't believe it. I think what we're seeing here is really cool is 2 teams, we mentioned in the opener, just completely unlikely to be here. So anything can happen is what I see. You know, anything can happen with these 2 teams because of the improbability of both these teams being in this World Series, which makes it that more intriguing for me. But if you're asking me today, and I'll give it to you without looking at the rundown, I'm sure we're gonna figure it out. But I said Rangers in 6. I put a lot of thought into it. I think Rangers in 6.
I think that's exactly what I was going to say too. I'm right there with you. I just, golly, I know that.
I think they get this home losing thing, bugaboo, out of their system. They almost did it a week ago in that crazy all-timer of a game against Houston in Game 5. So I think they actually come out and take care of business tonight. They might split tonight, but I think this series, the first 2, but I lean on the starting pitching, which has been fantastic in this postseason run, coupled with the bats. That is, hitting's infectious. You saw that in Game 7 with Houston. But I also lean on, forgive me for not knowing everybody on Arizona's team that has World Series experience, but Seager does. Scherzer does. I lean on that stuff. And I think these young guys feed off of that stuff with Carter and Young. And I think they feed off of knowing these guys are going to lead them with that experience. So that's why, no disrespect to Arizona's awesome. I love Carroll. I love that guy. I think he's great, and I love this story. But And I'm not trying to pick this with my heart. I'm trying to look at everything what I just said. So that's why I lean Rangers in 6.
Yeah, just kind of off the top of my head, thinking about guys and looking down through. So Seager's been in a World Series. Anybody else? Scherzer, yeah, obviously. Is it
I was going off the top of my head.
Is it just Evan Longoria on the other side?
Yeah. Tampa Bay, right?
Yeah, for sure. Is he the? I mean, sometimes there's some of these relievers are on there and you forget all about them. But truth be told, there's not much. There's not a ton on either side.
Not really.
And you know what's crazy? It happened in different times of the year, with Carroll being there the whole year. But I think the youth, and one on each side, has really kind of sparked these teams. Carroll on one side and Evan Carter on the Rangers side. I think you can draw a direct line back to Houston sweeping Texas in Arlington toward the end of the regular season, and immediately Carter gets brought up the next series, and he played the last 23, and now he's played in every he's been in every postseason game. I think that was a spark that Texas really needed coming off of getting swept by Houston in that regular season series. So it's kind of weird. There's some mixture, a bunch of young guys, but there's some older guys, a little bit of experience. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's chalk me up for the new blood World Series.
Oh, yeah.
You got any guesses?
Oh, no.
The last time both World Series combatants were 50-1 or worse.
94. Oh, wait.
It's not 1994. There wasn't a World Series then, Jared. We'll be back on a Garrison Financial Friday.
Hello, my name is Scott Garrison. You may remember me as Scott the Barber or just as Ron and Carla's son. I've been involved in our community since opening Scott's Barbershop on the southeast corner of 3rd and Main in 1998. Now I'm back in the same building as Garrison Financial. I started investing in my 20s. I invested through the dot-com crash and the Great Recession. I started caring for other people's money in 2018, and I truly enjoy sitting down with my clients, understanding their wants and needs as well as what keeps them up at night. Whether my friends just want me to invest a little of their savings or want me to work with their tax and legal professionals to strive towards optimal efficiency, we can do it all. I believe communication is key to helping my clients reach their goals. For if we are faithful over a few things, we shall be given more. Contact me at scott@soonerwealth.com. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Garrison Financial and Cambridge are not affiliated. This communication is strictly intended for individuals residing in the states of Colorado, Nevada, Oklahoma, and Texas. No offers may be made or accepted from any resident outside the specific states referenced. Cambridge does not offer tax and legal advice.
The Skinny on Sports.
Welcome back, Skinny on Sports, 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. It's a Garrison Financial Friday. Appreciate Scott, unable to join us today, but, man, he does it all. Garrison Financial is at 124 North Main right here in Elk City. It's the northeast corner of 3rd and Main. Right there. When you stop at the stoplight, if you're going north on Main, you look straight east and you see his building right there. He can do all your financial planning, full financial planning. He'll shop the open market to bring you the best value on your life insurance and your investments. If you're one of those people that just kind of a hands-off approach, he'll manage your investments. Or if you're more of a hands-on, you're just not sure how to get started, he can charge you by the hour to build you a plan that then you can take over and manage from there. Scott@soonerwealth.com is his email address. 124 North Main is his address. And then 580-821-1219 if you want to get a hold of him on the horn. Scott@soonerwealth.com. It's Scott Garrison. It's Garrison Financial Friday. All right, Jared, just 2 more regular season weeks here in the high school football schedule. Tonight, the Big Elks solidify their spot as second in District 4A1, which carries with it a home playoff game in a couple of weeks. And then in position if something extremely rare were to happen in Clinton, which no one thinks it's going to. But I guess at worst, a win tonight puts you second, gives you at least one round at home in the playoffs. And also, a win tonight may give you a chance if you've got some nicks and bruises or whatever. Next week's game becomes meaningless in the grand scheme of things. And so, if you wanted to take the opportunity to kind of heal some bumps and bruises, you'd have that opportunity as well.
Yeah, so very big tonight to, I guess, protect home field. It's something that's kind of gone to the wayside because of Woodward's struggles, but this is kind of a rivalry game. I kind of alluded to that with Coach on Wednesday. The obvious rivals are Clinton and Weatherford, but this one's like a nasty. I remember when both these teams are good or at the same level, that you got some really nasty games, and so there's always that. But I know Woodward has struggled. So, again, it's just a matter of taking care of what you can take care of and doing, we know the quality of team that's coming here. So I think it's an opportunity is what we're saying. Win one of the next two, and you'd like to win this one first at home in front of your home crowd on senior night. And then, like you said, it really makes things, I guess, mentally easier next week on the road at Taft Stadium against John Marshall, and you don't, maybe play a quarter of your guys and then call off the dogs, hopefully, if it's a big lead. But I think they'll be okay tonight. And then, like you said, get healthy. It is that time of year. You're gonna have your nicks, your bruises, and all that stuff. But you don't want to lose momentum too. Counterpoint to all that stuff about sitting guys. You don't want to lose rhythm and momentum going into the playoffs. So I just come out, play perfect football. Keep it clean, penalty-wise, which I still think is a thing that the Big Elks can work on a little bit, and they'll be okay.
Yeah, this game last year, similar position except for the Elks were trying to win the district. Mm-hmm. And it drug on. They didn't handle it very well. There was multiple injuries in this game up there at Woodward last year.
I remember that.
And a big part of it was because the Elks were still having to play in the third and even early fourth quarter. I mean, and heck, even Woodward is playing to the very end, trying to score points to make it a closer game. And so, for me, if you come out and you execute the way that you're taught to, and just be done with it, right? Be done with it at halftime and move on. It would be the goal for me, and it's going to be. The weather seems – I actually think it's going to get nicer as the day goes on. The wind's going to kind of stop blowing, and by the time game time rolls around, it's supposed to be a pretty dang nice evening, maybe even in the mid to upper 60s this afternoon with sun. And, it's going to end up being a pretty nice day by the time it's all said and done.
Curious about the wind.
The wind is the one that – when I read the weather yesterday, it said kind of diminishing as the day went along. We'll see if that really holds true. I'm not so sure that the front didn't get here a little bit sooner than they thought, which to me would make it even more likely that the wind would subside at some point here as that stuff blows through. But we'll see what happens once we get there
Says
this evening.
Kickoff, clear skies, 57.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get the temperatures you get at the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
I can tolerate any temperature as long as it's not windy. So
that's right.
If the wind lays down,
and
it'll be a beautiful night.
And it's not supposed to have much wind tomorrow either, so that would lead you to believe that the wind will start to kind of lay down as the day goes along. So we'll see what actually happens, but it's one of those, and I think last year might even help being in a similar situation, maybe not winning the district, but at least in that spot where you can clinch what you can clinch right here tonight. Take care of business a little bit better than what happened last year, and start moving forward through this game. Like I said, Woodward just struggled. It is what it is, man. When I was typing up their kind of looking at their 2 deep and getting that all ready, they are playing so many young dudes. I'm talking like freshmen, young.
Is it out of necessity for injury or just that's who they've got?
There's different guys than maybe what the 2 deep was for Weatherford. What I saw, it's maybe a little bit different, and so I don't know if it's injury or but golly, they're young. I mean, young. So that would obviously probably play into the Elks' advantage. At the same time, young people don't they don't know any better. Who knows? And you're right. The rivalry that exists between these two, it's different than the others. And I think we saw that last year in this game. Woodward wasn't just going to lay down because Elk City was here. They fought tooth and nail throughout the entirety of the 48 minutes, and I expect every bit of that tonight as well. The Elks just need to execute and do what they've been doing. Clinton on the road at Cache tonight. They can sew everything up in the district. 2 home games, district champs with the win down at Cache. Cache is the team of everybody inside District 4A1 and maybe even Weatherford now. But the Cache team we saw on Big Elk Stadium that night was a shell of what that Cache team could have and should have been because of injuries to key guys. I'm sure Weatherford don't want to hear it right now either. But at that time, you'd watch the film, you'd watch their games before, and you'd see Muldowney, an excellent running back. And then when we saw him here, obviously he was hobbled, just didn't get the ball much. And then Harbin went down with that ankle during the game here. And it feels like Cache has just been a totally different team. Maybe not as potent for as ripe for an upset opportunity as they would have been. But even so, it just feels like Clinton has their recipe down, and that is play amazingly good defense and score when they can score. It's just kind of what they're doing, right?
They're kind of a grind it out, stop you up front. Maybe bend don't break is a good way to describe them because they've given up drives, but teams are finding it incredibly hard to score with inside the red zone. It's like, okay, we want you in the red zone because that limits what you can do and it improves on what we can do.
Yeah, you wonder, thinking back to that Heritage Hall game, when you see Heritage Hall was scoring from way out.
Right.
What happens if they're able to maybe trip somebody up inside the 10 and then in that confined space, all we've seen in the district is it incredibly tough to score on Clinton in the red zone.
Yeah.
And it feels like the closer you get to the goal line, the harder it gets to actually be able to do it. And I go back to that game, and Coach Higbee putting those 2 guys back at the safety spots for more experience and senior leadership. That's Sully and that's Garrison Rhodes, getting those guys back. That seems to have kind of that was the answer to the secondary problems early on.
Yes, and Sully's kind of come into his own, especially on defense. That was a good move for them. He's played really well. But, you'll probably see a lot of Cache have success moving the ball. But, I saw this thing. It was funny. We bring this up. I saw it on Twitter where a Texas fan was trying to point out that OU's overall defensive rank was in the 50s. But everyone's pointing out, but their scoring defense is a top 15. They're preventing people from scoring. I mean, what's more important, giving up yards or not letting a team light up the scoreboard? I think we know the answer to that, and that's what Clinton's kind of doing. They're not letting people score. Yeah,
even when they do give up yards, which they don't give up a ton of them anyways. But you're right, it just gets so much harder. They just have that toughness, and they'll hit you. And I would imagine we'll be talking about. To me, when we come in here on Monday, we'll be talking about Clinton 1, Elk City 2, Weatherford 3, and then Cache and Chickasha are going to play for the 4th spot. And that's, honestly, for Cache, it's kind of the bummer, right? Even if they pull off the upset, they can still miss the playoffs because it doesn't matter. Next week is all that matters for them. Correct. Outside of a huge upset by John Marshall over Weatherford, which we don't think will happen. It's at Weatherford. Because they actually finish tonight because they've got a Week 10 bye, which couldn't come at a better time for them. They need to get healthy. They need to heal up some of those guys that we didn't see last week. If they beat John Marshall, they got 2 losses. Even if Cache were to win, they could still – and Chickasha doesn't – Chickasha's played last night out of district.
Right.
So it's coming down to Cache and Chickasha no matter what, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Next week for that final spot in 4A1. All right, 4A2, which is the opponents in the first round for the teams that make the playoffs for these 2 districts. Huge night in 4A2. You've got Blanchard. Blanchard's in the same position that Clinton is. Win one of the last 2, and they are the district champ. So they get Bethany tonight at home and then go to Tecumseh. Newcastle travels to Tuttle. The top 4 all play each other this week. And so if you don't realize how this sets up, so if Clinton is the district champ, they'll play the 4th team out of 4A2. The Big Elk says the 2nd team would play the 3rd team out of 4A2. And you can see where this is headed. Weatherford as the 3rd team would go to number 2. The Cache Chickasha winner as the 4th seed would go to number 1. And so there's really nothing decided yet whatsoever in that district. And a Bethany upset of Blanchard even makes it more troublesome to figure out. Now, one of Tuttle and Newcastle obviously is going to have 2 losses. Actually, it doesn't, I guess, because one of Bethany and Bethany, Tuttle, and Newcastle, they all have they all play each other. Newcastle plays Tuttle tonight. Newcastle plays Bethany next week. So they can't finish with multiple teams with 1 loss.
No.
They can't.
No. Oh, this tonight, next week.
Yeah, they can.
Who?
Yeah, they can. If Tuttle wins tonight, they'll stay at 1 loss. If Bethany wins tonight, now Blanchard, Bethany, and Tuttle all have 1 loss. With Bethany playing Newcastle next week. Tuttle and Blanchard next week games are layups. So if you end up with Blanchard, Tuttle, Bethany, then you've got a 3-way tie where everybody beat everybody. So then you go to points.
Did you say Blanchard, Tuttle, Bethany? So if
Tuttle beats Newcastle and Newcastle loses to Bethany next week.
And assuming Bethany
would have to beat Blanchard.
They'd
right,
have
right.
to beat them.
Yeah, that's the way you could end up with 3 teams with 1 loss.
Right there.
Otherwise, it's impossible. Because even if Blanchard were to beat Bethany, Bethany beat Blanchard and Newcastle beat Tuttle, well, next week Newcastle and Bethany play. So, Bethany's 4th right now. There's a way where they win the district.
There is a way, yeah.
They have to have Newcastle beat Tuttle tonight, and they have to beat Bethany. They have to beat Blanchard and Newcastle. Because then it comes down to a 2-way tie between Bethany and Blanchard with 1 loss, and Bethany would hold the tiebreak because they won tonight. So they can still win the district. Jeez, if the top 2 win, it'll be more obvious. Blanchard will be the district champ. Tuttle will be locked into 2nd. If Newcastle or even if Bethany wins, then it's who the heck knows. But even if Blanchard wins and then Newcastle wins, it probably means Tuttle's coming here, right? Because Newcastle would
put them at
2 losses, 4-2. Newcastle would be 5-1. Bethany would be 4-2. Then you'd have that game next week. I guess if Bethany beat Newcastle, then you've got a 3-way tie for 2nd, where everybody beat everybody. And their points are 1 different right now. Oh, my gosh. It's wild. There's still lots and lots and lots for 4A2 to be decided. And then, of course, the biggest game in the state, according to the Oklahoman, in all classes on the high school football field tonight, is Poteau and Ada. Ada goes to Poteau tonight. Both teams 8-0, both teams 5-0 in District 4. Why do we care about Poteau and Ada? Well, I'll tell you. Because whoever wins this game is the likely opponent if the Elks are able to move into the 2nd round of the playoffs. A trip to Ada or a trip to Poteau would await if Elk City could figure out a way to beat whoever they play in the 1st round of the playoffs. So that's why we'll have our eyes on that one.
Go Ada?
I don't know.
Because it's a shorter trip?
I don't know. We'll have to ask Mr. Sparks just how good that eating place is at Poteau. If it's worth an extra 45 minutes or so of drive, hour, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I know a good spot on the way to Ada, and we ate at that. Well, last time we were in Ada a couple years ago,
We found that little.
It was a hole in the wall.
Right.
It was good.
It was very good. It was very good.
Kind of international flavor to it.
It had like a southern charm to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a southern/international flavor.
Yeah.
I don't know how we found it. I don't even
We
remember
randomly were driving.
I don't even remember what it was called.
There's a place. I forget what it was called. And you could tell she had just started. Like she was just started this restaurant.
Yeah, it was right out of COVID.
Because there was maybe 3 or 4 items on the menu, but they were you couldn't go wrong.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
All right, that's high school football. Of course, we'll have wall-to-wall football tonight. Big Elk TV, the Elks and Woodward. Got Hooker coming down to Merritt. Also, Paragon, that's on Paragon TV. And then Hollis. Don't forget about the Hollis Tigers. Tigers head to Shattuck. Face the Indians tonight. That's also 7 o'clock. Paragon TV will be back with college football.
Hello, my name is Scott Garrison. You may remember me as Scott the Barber or just as Ron and Carla's son. I've been involved in our community since opening Scott's Barbershop on the southeast corner of 3rd and Main in 1998. Now I'm back in the same building as Garrison Financial. I started investing in my 20s. I invested through the dot-com crash and the Great Recession. I started caring for other people's money in 2018, and I truly enjoy sitting down with my clients, understanding their wants and needs as well as what keeps them up at night. Whether my friends just want me to invest a little of their savings or want me to work with their tax and legal professionals to strive towards optimal efficiency, we can do it all. I believe communication is key to helping my clients reach their goals. For if we are faithful over a few things, we shall be given more. Contact me at scott@soonerwealth.com. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Garrison Financial and Cambridge are not affiliated. This communication is strictly intended for individuals residing in the states of Colorado, Nevada, Oklahoma, and Texas. No offers may be made or accepted from any resident outside the specific states referenced. Cambridge does not offer tax and legal advice.
The Skinny on Sports.
We've come too far. There's too much to lose. We've got to keep our composure.
Welcome back. Skinny on Sports, 98.1 FM, the sports animal. Okay, Jared. Are you ready to know the answer?
Yes, I'm anxiously waiting to. My guess was 97. That was wrong.
The last time the World Series featured 2 teams that were 50-1 or greater to win the season, to win the World Series to start the season, 1991. Minnesota Twins against the Atlanta Braves. If you remember, both teams went worst to first in their divisions that year. Minnesota was 80-1. The Braves were 200-1. I forgot to give you the hint. The hint would have been, you'll hear from a guy on one of those teams tonight.
Joe Morgan?
John Smoltz.
John Smoltz.
Yes.
Yeah, Morgan's not on the broadcast.
No, John Smoltz.
He was on one somewhere one time.
Anyhow.
Anyways, yeah.
So that's what it is. The Braves and the Twins back in 1991. The last time we had a World Series, kind of this surprising in the betting markets as the season started. All right, college football. Is this Oklahoma's toughest remaining game at Kansas tomorrow?
I would say maybe if it appears that Jalen Daniels will not play. And he seems like the X factor. OU still has problems with quarterbacks that are mobile.
Well, Jason Bean can run.
He can run, but I think Daniels, he's clearly the better quarterback, or he'd be playing in this game if he wasn't hurt. So I'd say no. I think Bedlam is the toughest. I think OSU's trajectory is going up, and Kansas is kind of plateaued. So I'm going to go with Bedlam. That's who I think is the toughest game left. Although I've been, and I know, BYU is not good. They just haven't been good. But something about going to Provo scares me as an OU fan. Something about it just scares me. TCU coming to Norman on a Friday night does not. I think the place will be ready to go. But I'm always kind of have that one in the back of my mind, the BYU game. But because it's last Bedlam, OSU is finding a lot of positive momentum. Their fan base, they're like, oh, okay, this is, and they have, I think, the best running back in the league right now. So I think Bedlam is the toughest task left for OU. But Kansas will be tough. I'm not trying to overlook them. But I think not playing Daniels is a thing.
I really want to say yes, just because it is the last Bedlam, and that's going to be you're not going to get a team sleepwalking on either side there. And to me, that means if they both play their best, Oklahoma wins that game. But this is a spot where it almost
look ahead,
maybe, but it does. And here's the thing: the conditions aren't supposed to be very conducive to throw the ball, which means Oklahoma's got to figure out a way to stop the run. Kansas is the 94th best run defense in the country, but UCF was like 125.
Well, on the other side, OU's got to figure out a way to run the ball.
That's what I'm saying. No. That's what I mean.
I thought you said stop the run.
No. Kansas can't stop the run, but OU can't run it.
Right.
So, yeah, their defense is 94th against the run. But Oklahoma's run offense, it got going at the end of that game. This isn't a group of 5 opponent. This is a team that's been in the Big 12 that has more depth than those teams do. I think that's the secret in these games where a traditional Big 12 team plays one of the new guys. I think you see the new guys wear out because they don't have the depth yet built through the recruiting to a school like that. I think that's a big part of why we're seeing these things happen. So I would tend to say yes because of Kansas's explosiveness, the way that, Oklahoma State's offense is more here it is, stop it. You know what I'm saying? Especially with the running game with Gordon. This one's a little bit more of the Malzahn kind of get your eyes going the wrong way. We saw it against OSU. The biggest guy, one of the biggest guys on the field was running right down the middle of the field wide open. Nobody even saw him because they were looking somewhere else. And we saw OU be very susceptible to that in the back end last week. And conditions, that stadium is also, even though it's sold out, it's always kind of a sleepy spot. I don't know. And I just can't, and this is no offense to anybody wearing orange and black, I just can't possibly imagine Oklahoma with the dominance they've had in Bedlam losing the last one when it's that important.
I think why I answered OSU is because I'm just comparing past results. OSU played Kansas better. They beat Kansas. And if I'm also looking at that Lawrence, and they're obviously a better team what they have been in the past. But is it more so of them being the tougher opponent because of OU looking ahead or is it because Kansas is better than OSU? I that's why I kind of answered OSU. But I get what you're saying. When you get best on best with OU versus OSU, OU's the better team.
Or it has been. Looks like it.
Yeah. And maybe it's in the whole last Bedlam thing. Sure, that's going to get everybody's attention, and maybe OSU's like, man, we need to stop saying that this is the last Bedlam because now it's waking OU up. They don't want to get him. They don't want to lose it. Just like we don't want to lose him.
It's weird.
That's when you get that intensity drawn up.
It's weird how 3 weeks ago, I don't know if anybody wanted to play Bedlam.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
OU've been scared to death to lose to the worst OSU team since Bob Simmons in the last one, right? And OSU didn't want to play because they didn't think they could win the game. And now all of a sudden it's starting to get some heat, and hopefully, who do you think's more susceptible to a look-ahead spot here?
Yeah, that's a good one. Maybe OSU. Then this is where I go to compare Kansas to Cincinnati because of their record. Cincinnati is not good. So maybe there's that where they're going in. And plus, it's homecoming. There's a lot of distractions there. It could be that's where I kind of go. Just because of the quality of their opponent.
I'm the same way. I actually think homecoming helps, not hurts, up there. I think it helps. Otherwise, if it was just Cincinnati coming in on a normal Saturday and not a homecoming Saturday, I think all week long, instead of putting up your house decks and getting involved, you'd have been talking about Bedlam for a whole 2 weeks. I think this actually helps in that regard a little bit. Maybe more the fans than the players, but I just think it does. But I agree. I think OSU is way more possibly looking ahead because of that opponent. What about the rest of the Big 12? What interests you tomorrow?
Texas BYU, absolutely. We mentioned that too earlier. Is how that interests me because of the quarterback position at Texas. Will they go to Manning if is it Murphy if he struggles? They're still this game opened at 18 for Texas. I mean, Texas is a favorite, 18-point favorite, and it hasn't really changed even with the news of Ewers being out. So there's a lot of faith there, and I guess probably because it's in Austin. But, I mean, if they go into the second quarter and it's only 7-0, 10-0, if they kind of look out of sync because of the new quarterback, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm seeing if they will be out of sync, if there's going to be some differences there, and that Murphy, what I hear, is as athletic as they can get. So I wonder if the play calling changes to adhere to what he can do. So that one really, really interests me outside of the two state teams.
You know what's crazy is you think about like BYU, and I mean they just got hammered last week by Kansas State. They're still 5-2. It doesn't feel like it does. I mean, when I just
writes them off, everyone's writing off the new teams, right?
Well, because they can't beat the
right.
old teams.
So there's like, okay, well, if it's a new team versus an old team's going to win,
right? But when I just pulled that up and I saw, 6-1 versus 5-2, I would assume I thought BYU was 4-3 at least.
That's the way they talk about them.
But they also, I mean, I watched them beat Arkansas, which that's no great shakes at the moment. But at the time, it was like, whoa, hey. Look at BYU beating Arkansas.
It does just mean more in the SEC. So that win does mean a little more.
It was at the time it did. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm more intrigued to see if we see Arch.
Yeah.
What Murphy can do, in the spring game, he lit it up. But it was the spring game. But I'm really intrigued to see if we get to see Arch. Is that what those BMDs paid for? Did they pay for Malik Murphy to fill in for Quinn Ewers, or did they pay for Arch Manning?
Again, another intriguing thing is, will there be the grumblings in the fans? Will there be, come on, it's only 7-0, we're middle of the second quarter.
Where's Arch?
Where's Arch? You're going to hear it. An overthrow on third down, an interception, something. You're going to hear the... that's why it's intriguing. Another reason why it's intriguing, sure. Who else plays without looking? Who else plays?
West Virginia at UCF, Houston at K-State, Iowa State at Baylor. Not a ton.
None of those really do anything for me.
In the conference.
No.
Did we get did both state schools win?
Yes.
I think so, too.
I do, too.
I have a feeling Oklahoma-Kansas game is going to be close.
I got a feeling about that, too. Until Daniel scares me. The dude like that scares me. And if he's not playing, then...
Of course, Oklahoma's won 18 straight against Kansas, all by double digits. You give Florida much chance in the outdoor cocktail party?
What is their record?
5-2.
See, they're kind of like BYU too, right?
Yeah, Kansas 5-2.
They lose a couple games and then you write them off. So they're not horrible. And it's a neutral site. Maybe they come in like OU did in the Cotton Bowl and go, no one's giving us a shot. Let's go shock the world. So maybe a slim chance, but not much of one.
Game of the day, Oregon-Utah. Oregon goes to Rice-Eccles Stadium, Salt Lake City. Both teams 6-1, number 8 Oregon, number 13 Utah. Any leans there?
Nah, I want to say Utah because they're like the nation's darling this week. And I love their coach and everything he's doing there without Cam Rising playing. It's pretty cool. But I think Oregon's just talently more better.
I think they can stand up to in the trenches. Oregon can. USC couldn't. And some of those Pac-12 teams couldn't or can't. But I think Utah can stand up to Oregon can stand up to Utah. I think it's going to be a heck of a game. Once again, you would think decided quarterback advantage to Utah's opponent. They're running a pig farmer out there as their backup or whatever.
Love that.
Doesn't even matter, does it?
Love that.
Upset alert. You got anybody on upset alert? in the top 25.
Right.
I've got one, and it
Go
hurts.
for it.
It hurts my heart to think about this happening. But Pac-12 after dark, look out! My Beavers have got to be alert heading to Tucson against the Arizona Wildcats. Have got to keep the Beavers alert out in the desert. Anybody else you see? That one scares me.
I'm not brave enough to pick Cal over USC, even though it is at Cal, but come on.
Wisconsin got anything for the Buckeyes?
Nah. It's in Madison. Not ready to go there. I'll give you one. It's not much of a risk. How about Colorado over UCLA?
Yeah,
that'd be a huge upset because UCLA is at 16.5 points.
Yeah, that would shock me, actually. Mark Stoops, could he get it done against Heupel at home?
It's a good one.
Kentucky against Tennessee.
That's a good one.
There's another top 25 game, Duke and Louisville. How many people knew that both those teams were ranked?
Thought about that one. I think Duke bounces back, actually. I do.
Yeah, and Louisville got beat, last week or the week before? After beating Notre Dame.
Yeah, Pitt got him.
And got smoked.
Speaking of Notre Dame, they play Pitt. No chance there for Pitt.
Okay.
No chance for Wake Forest. You're going to get stomped by Florida State. Who played last night? Didn't matter. But
Virginia Tech smoked somebody.
Syracuse.
By the way, speaking of last night, have you ever seen a Hail Mary more open in your life? It's like Godwin.
What was he doing?
Well, he got grabbed first off. I mean, there was.
He turned around and boom, boom.
There was borderline assault and battery going on in the back of the end zone and on the goal line, which is why he was wide open in the middle. It almost hit him in the chest.
Yeah,
you almost saw a Hail Mary hit a guy right in the chest.
Baker still has the arm strength. He threw that 60-plus yards.
Yeah.
And he threw it perfectly where all you got to do is open up your breadbasket, let it fall in.
If
there was a 5-gallon bucket, he would have dropped it in there.
He turned around about a half second too late to just catch the ball in the end zone on Hail Mary. I don't know if I've ever seen it that wide open like that.
Yeah.
And he just didn't catch it. That was wild.
Crazy.
Wild game. That was an ugly, terrible, awful game. But
listen, Bills aren't fixed.
Buffalo almost messed around and let the Bucs beat them.
What's going on with them? I thought they figured it out. Then you look up and they're all, okay. I thought, all right, they're 2 touchdowns. They're up 2 touchdowns. This is over. They're going to run away with this.
And they just quit playing offense.
Yeah.
I mean, kudos to their punter. I mean, they're in the third quarter. Heck, the whole game. Or the whole second half, I mean. The Bucs started inside their 10 on every single drive except for the last one. Even the touchdown drive to pull them within 6, they started way. I mean, it was Tampa Bay takes over at the 4, Tampa Bay takes over at the 6, Tampa Bay takes over at the 8. Because the punter did a great job for Buffalo until that last one, and he almost had him at the inch-yard line.
Yeah, Tampa Bay had horrible field position all night.
In the second half,
all
for
night.
sure.
Yeah.
And the Bills jacked around and almost got them beat. That was such a wild. There was so much pass interference going on in the back of the end zone and the front of the end zone that Godwin was wide open considering it being.
I think he was shocked how
being a Hail Mary.
He was too busy looking for the guy that's going to interfere with him.
And he got grabbed as he spun around.
As he spun around, he did.
It's like
he should have sold that more. I was waiting for him to put his arms up like, whoa.
They're never going to call it.
No.
But it's like at the end of an NBA playoff game. Oh, you got to let the players decide the game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What about the player that's trying to shoot? It has his arm ripped off.
Yeah.
He's not getting a chance to decide the game either. I mean, I get you don't want to call fouls at the end or whatever, but my gosh, you're deciding the game by not having it be normal.
Right.
And if anybody wants to act like that wasn't pass interference in multiple locations, as far as the law, the rules go, then you've got your head in the sand.
Yeah.
I understand that they're not ever going to call it, and I don't know why do teams not just do that?
Yeah.
Just sling them to the ground. They're not going to call it. It's wild. Yep. All right, everybody have a great weekend. Big Elk TV, Paragon TV, 7 o'clock tonight, high school football.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That ball is blistered